I won't bet you anymore. You don't pay when you lose. Lucky you didn't bet.
Welcome back to the Titanium Hangar. This is Mike, and today I want to talk to you about the Masterverse Too Bad. Is it the best Masterverse figure out there? Is it better than its classic counterpart? Is it too good? We're going to talk about this. We're going to do some comparisons, and I'm kind of going to discuss this. Here's a hint. It's a good figure, but it's good and it's bad for collectors. What I'm seeing with this figure. We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about more. We're going to do comparisons coming up. All right, so here he is in his packaging, and I do like that they show him sort of in an action pose. He looks pretty good. You can see all his weapons. He is considered a deluxe. He is in the smaller deluxe packaging, which I think is smarter. I really don't like the really wide packaging. It's hard to store that, and it takes a lot of room on shelves and stuff. But this is more compact and looks better to me. I think the soft goods are why they go with the bigger ones, but then some of the bigger ones didn't have soft goods, so. But you can see what comes with them and all that good stuff. But yeah, not too boring on the packaging. And then, of course, there's a little bio on the back talking about once respective captains of competing mercenary ships, Tuvar and Badara, both had their eyes on legendary treasure of the Horde Prime. The treasure, however, came with a curse. It fused the rival captains together, who now terrorize New Eternia as Too Bad. With his combined knowledge, Too Bad could rule the universe if it weren't for his combined egos. Okay, so starting out, we're going to take a good look at him, but I want to say that he actually comes with storage for every weapon, every accessory. He can hold this mace right there, that club, this kind of spike mace club thing there. His gun has a holster. There's a slot in the back to actually put any of the weapons in, and his shield fits on him just fine, and all of that kind of stuff. So with that, number one, that is awesome. He doesn't have a place to store his fists, but if you really wanted to, you could clip them into his belt if you wanted to. It's not something I want to do. I'll just keep them in a baggie, but it is an option. It's possible, and you can display them on the shelf and you'd never notice. But yeah, let's take those out of there. So anyway, he has a gripping hand and a fist hand for either side. If you want that, I'm just gonna leave the gripping hand. I'm perfectly fine. I don't need these on my figure, so I'll just keep them stored away. So, getting into looking at this guy, he looks fantastic. The sculpt is awesome. And as we're looking at this, I'm going to point out all the paint apps and everything that looks good. But I don't have a preconceived notion of what he should look like. I have a vintage one. I actually have a couple of vintage ones, and I picked them up for like $5 each. And so with the vintage one, I have an idea of what he should look like. I think this looks way better, and in my mind, this is what it should have looked like. So he does have this armor that's on him, and it fits. It's made for one taller guy versus a shorter guy. We're going to get into that when we do size comparisons, that which one's taller. Then he has this shoulder armor. Now, one thing is I don't like how it doesn't lay flat. I could heat it up and make it lay more flat if I wanted to. So I might still do that, but for now I'm not going to. And then he has this. There's a lot of paint on his belt and his holster and all the way around. That just looks so cool. And that looks like next level. Again, this is a deluxe figure, so you're getting more paint apps and more accessories, not just more paint apps. Now looking underneath, we got this signature. It's the signature Motu belt and his loincloth. Now, I want to show that his loincloth, for how big he is and how much he's got going on, usually I'm upset about the Masterverse loincloths being super long, but I feel like it fits him because he's just so big. If you look at it, Man-at-Arms is shorter than him, but the loincloth is about the same. So with that, it just seems like it fits a little bit better. Of course, I like a more classic style of a loincloth, not the extra long ones that go with this line. But for him, it looks fine. Okay, so getting down to the legs. Now there are different colors. They're cast in different colors. And one is furry and fuzzy, and then the other one is scaly, which is cool. So this whole side is scales. This whole side is it fur or just muscle fiber? But got silver boot, and it's a different design on this side with more of a purplish one. That's pretty cool. And on the back, everything carries over and looks really good. And yeah, just they've done a fantastic job on this figure. It just looks amazing, and it feels like something you'd get from classics. And so with that, kudos, right? Now, the weapons themselves don't have any real paint apps on them. So this one here, it looks good for what it is, but no paint apps. And then same thing over here. There's no paint apps on this green one. And then the shield is just orange, which is fine. It's a homage to the past. But with as well as everything else is painted, I'm surprised that the individual weapons have no paint apps, except for right here on the handle, there's some white, some sort of off-white. But this is a double axe, which is very, I think he has that pretty much with everything. Now, one of the things is, I think that when we get to the other comparisons, these two weapons are usually combined into one, like double mace. So it's split, so that's kind of okay too. So let's get into looking at this gun. There's a double blaster gun going on right here, which is really cool. And so we're going to plug that into his hand, and it works nice. And this is why I don't even care about those fists, because he has so many weapons, and it's just all tricked out. And then let's go ahead and just throw the mace in there while he's just chilling. And so, yeah, this is fantastic. Just the whole figure and how it's planned out and thought out. If every Masterverse figure had this much thought put into it and worked out this well, it would be fantastic, wouldn't it? I mean, I think the Masterverse line is doing really well, but this thing is just top notch so far. So anyway, let's go ahead and get into some articulation. As you can see, the straps for the shield go over his arm, and it was kind of a challenge to get it on. I tried to pop the hand off, put the shield on, pop the hand back on, but it requires so much pressure to pop it back on that you can't do it with the shield, or I couldn't do it with the shield in there. So anyhow, we'll go with this side. So going out, it goes out to about here. And then if you want to go up higher, you have to rotate it to go up higher. And so you can get higher range. But it's one of those things where you'll have to rotate it to get that higher range. And then I did kind of go through and bend all these joints a bit before I started this, so that I could kind of loosen it up. But this is about as far down as his arm's going to go. And then we got the typical bicep swivel with a double jointed elbow, and the hand goes in and out, not up and down, in and out. So for whatever reason. Now, he does have the chest articulation and waist articulation. So double articulation going on right there, and it holds. It doesn't spring back like some of them. And it's kind of cool because it does sort of match up like that. Then we have out to here. The gun's kind of in the way there, so out to here, and then forward, back, thigh cut. I've heard people lately discussing they don't like the thigh cuts, and I understand why. With this line, the loincloth covers part of it, but not all of it. But yeah, I kind of understand that thought process. Now, the worst part about these is the way the knees look to get the double joint. There's got to be a better way to do it, but it's a fantastic double joint. And so it does carry over what I like the least. This is the thing I don't like about Masterverse is the knees. The knees in the loincloth. Past that, I like most of what's going on with Masterverse. And then down here with the foot, you got the shin moves up and down and a little bit of side to side. So he can get that nice pose. So, are you ready for some comparisons? I don't know. Are you ready for comparisons? Let's do it. Okay, so I'm going to go through this and kind of talk about each figure compared to him. Look at the size. Look how much bigger he towers over these two. That's a lot of plastic. And for a standard deluxe price, he definitely is living up to his deluxe price. And just look how big he is. Compared to these guys. So looking at them, these are both great figures. I think this is a definite stand-in over here with Fisto for the classics. And in a lot of respects, this figure beats the classics because I have both and I like this one better. So with that, these still are good, but I like everything about this even better. Okay, so with Triclops and Stinkor, I think Triclops is a definite replacement for classics. If you have you don't have the classics, you don't want to spend $150, $200, then great for $20. Stinkor, on the other hand, it's been pointed out to me that a lot of the colors are different and just the way he is different. I still like him and he's fine for my collection, but compared to this guy dominates him. just dominates them. Part of the reason for me, though, is everything's up to personal preference. And with me, personal preferences, I don't have a predisposition about him. I do about him. Stinkor is sort of right in the middle. Okay, so compared to the Masterverse Stratos, which is a pretty good looking figure, and the actual Many-Faces, this is Classics Many-Face though. So Classics Many-Faces, and all of these side by side, and how do they look? They all look good. They sort of fit in and blend well, and they look great. It looks good with these. And even the Stratos here, he carries over some of the stuff from this, like some really cool pieces that they've done with this over to here. But he has very few paint apps, and he just looks bland in comparison to this. And of course, Classics is usually pretty right on, you know. And compared to some female characters, just they're smaller and daintier, and so obviously they are going to look tiny compared to him. But they have stability issues. This guy does not have stability issues. Well, okay, you got to have it on the right clicks, and then he stands fine. Great, I'm trying to show a point there, and he doesn't do it for me, but he doesn't have stability issues. He is solid. But these girls, they spend half the time on their backs in this video. All right, so compared to the vintage one right here, and with that, he doesn't have the little head-hitting gimmick like this, but it does sort of match the coloration side by side, and so the colors sort of match up. There's no silver boot over here, so that's different, and so you still have the orange piece right there, and no shoulder pad. I don't know if that was supposed to come with it on the vintage one, but as you can see, I've just got like an accessory pack shield on mine. I don't really care. Yeah, there's the vintage comparison. Let's take a look at two more comparisons. So here he is next to the 2000X version, which is way, way smaller, even smaller than the vintage, or I don't know, maybe about the same size as the vintage. But he has these, this double kind of bladed thing going on here, which is what I remember about the character. And it seems like they split it off into two weapons. So that's something I remember. Maybe he came with an axe too, I don't remember. I just know I got a loose one. This is what I got for the loose one. And so with that, you can see the stylization of these. So as you can see, they progress to, instead of having equal size heads like we saw in the vintage, the blue one's taller and the purple one is shorter. And that's opposite over here. And that's going to carry over to the Classics too. But with that, I don't know why they made that change. But with this, we started seeing the silver boot, and we see the silver on the hand, and we see some progression that they maintained. Interesting with the loincloth being green and black, so two separate loincloths. They went with one loincloth over here, obviously probably to save a little bit of money on that, but let's check out Classics. All right, so looking at the Classics, I'm surprised how short it is. Like, wow, this almost feels like a vintage figure. It just feels so short for the Classics line. And this was a $200 figure for a while. It was a figure that was really hard to get your hands on. So now for 33 bucks or something, you could get this one, which I find superior, and I think will look better with Classics than this short dude. But then again, what's the right scale? And, you know, how's filmation? What do you think? How does it fit in your head canon? And all of that. But they still went with this similar type of 2000X weapon here. But as you can see, Masterverse went their own direction. So how does he actually fit in with your Classics collection? These are the Super 7 versions, by the way, which I think are the best. The best looking, most filmation, towers over all of them, and I think he looks good with them. I think that he's one of Skeletor's minions, and I like it. So there we go. And if they made a super filmation version, would I want that? Probably. Yeah, I want that too. So what are my thoughts on this Too Bad figure? I think that he's a really good figure. I think that he fits in with either Classics or your Masterverse. I do think he's the best Masterverse figure made so far, just because of the paint apps and the accessories and how it all works and fits. And it really works for me. And I think that it's better than the Classics version, even though the Classics version one is more classic, more cartoon, and toy at the same time. But I will say this is good for collectors that we get such an awesome figure for $33 is a reasonable price. I know a lot of people are like, I'll wait for a sale, I'll wait for clearance, and that is causing the demise of Masterverse and Origins. And so with that, it's sad that there's 6 of these on a Target shelf and nobody buys them. And that's probably all over the country. The people who really want it buy it right away, and then the rest just sit. And that's the demise of Masters of the Universe. And I think we've only got 2 years left. I think that once Eternia releases, we'll see a bump in sales, and Mattel anticipates that. But after that, I think that's a downward slope after that. And it's going to be really hard to be profitable at retail. And that's just the reality of it. So all of 2023, 2024, 2025, I don't think we'll see Masters of the Universe on shelves. So enjoy it while it lasts, guys. Hopefully we get more figures like this. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like and subscribe. Tadirum Hanger out.
You two guard the prisoner. Skeletor and I are going to look at that missile of his.
You watch him. I'm going to get some sleep.
Well, don't make it long. I'm tired too, you know.
Hey, cut that out. Cut what out? Don't hit me with those stones. I warned you, you two-faced practical joker. Now we can call you Pale Faces.